we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 11:38. Okay, let's see. All right. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting to see if there's any changes? Okay, so what we'll need to do is we'll need to get a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting. Okay, got it. All right, in a second. Okay. If you don't mind just saying your name out loud. Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, all right, good deal. Okay. So do we have any new members that are here with us today? No? Ma'am? Okay, all right, good deal. So we're just going to move right on along then. Okay, let's see. So our first update, I guess I'll give the REACH update. We had the Talcott presentation last Friday. There were several people here that attended. I thought it was done really well. I learned a lot of really new information. I know that Alyssa was there and Chris was there and a couple of your officers. We had probably about 86 in attendance from around North Texas, a good many from our local area. But it was really good information. You want to comment on anything that y'all thought?
Yeah, it was really good information. I don't remember the name, but it's podcast.
Yeah, it's Talcott Says Stop.
He's got a podcast. If you're into that kind of thing, check it out. It's pretty good stuff. It was stuff I didn't even know about, of what these kids are doing.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. So I know that he really talks a lot about some of the things that are starting to be seen, and one of the things that he did mention is the mushrooms are getting real popular. So if you're having kids that are having seizures for no reason, that's a good indication that they're getting a hold of that. And from what I understood, he was even saying that 9-year-olds can go into the store and actually purchase those packages, and they're kind of packaged to entice our young people. But good information. I encourage you to check out his podcast. It's Talcott Says Stop, and most of them are pretty brief. It's 15 to 20 minutes on most of them, but he really does a lot of really good highlights on what's going on. The other thing I was going to share is we had Monday and Tuesday we had the Ellis County Prom Pop-Up, which was extremely successful. We had 201 students that came just that first night. It was very, very crazy the first night. A good many of them were left with either suits or dresses. We had a lot more men this year too, so that was really good. Shout out to Global because they were there our second night and really helped out a lot. Getting the dresses put back, helping the young ladies with things that they needed. So again, if somebody is still needing a prom dress, we will be starting our event in Burleson tonight. So it's tonight and tomorrow at the Burleson First Baptist Church. So there's still an opportunity if they happen to miss the Ellis County one. But in the 2 days, we had close to 300 kids that came through from North Texas. So it was pretty amazing to see. And we did have a suit company, I think it's Rex Formal Wear, that actually donated some suits to us. So we actually are getting more suits, and we're in the talks with another men's warehouse type deal to see if maybe they would be willing to donate. But it was really nice to see so many kids walk away with such nice outfits and things like that, and they seemed really excited. And I believe that's all that I've got to share. And you said, Melissa, no counseling updates today? No. Okay, then.
I don't have a whole lot with nursing today, but I did want to tell you that I believe when we had our meeting last month, we had not had drug testing yet for the month of January, or at least didn't have the results. But anyway, we do now. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a rough month for us. We had 5 new THC positives at Waxahachie High School. So we have had those parent meetings, and counseling is happening and all those kinds of things. We also had one that was, in addition to those 5 first times, we had a student that tested positive for the second time. And unfortunately, there had been fortunately, there had been negative tests in between, but a subsequent positive after that. So, you know, our kiddos are struggling. I think at this time of year, you know, they've been in school for a few months, and maybe they're just looking for ways to distract themselves or to cope or whatever. So we really need to support these kiddos through this and help them make better decisions. So that's kind of where we are with drug testing. Our illness issues are slightly improving. We haven't seen quite as much in our clinics as we were seeing there for a while. We were just sending kids home right and left with fevers. But that's getting better, so hopefully flu is passing by. This new cold snap won't bring it back. So we're improving there. So that's my update. Rebecca Lockridge is our new, help me with her title, Community Outreach Coordinator. Sorry, I'm terrible with titles. But she couldn't be here today, but she did send me a couple of things she wanted to share. We are having Deer Day, which is Drop Everything and Read, for those of you that don't know. That will be on March 8th. They are 72% filled as far as readers go, so they are still needing some volunteers to read. So if you know of somebody that might be interested in doing that, want to give back to our kiddos, that would be a great way to do that. And Rebecca Lockridge would be who they would need to contact. She also wanted me to share that looking at the growth in the student population, that we are going to be increasing the number of backpacks that we give out at Operation First Day of School. Our district does this every year. It's just a great event for our parents. I assume we're still doing the drive-through Jenny's not here. I keep looking for Jenny for information. She's not here either. They're all at a conference. That's why they're not here. But we hand out backpacks to parents as they drive through, and it's got things like school supplies and things like that for the kids. So we're going to increase our numbers this year because obviously we are growing a lot. You sure can. There's also secondary ones, aren't there? Yeah. I don't want to misspeak, but yeah, they have an elementary backpack and a secondary backpack. So, good question. Any other questions about nursing issues or community outreach issues, since I kind of threw all that together? All right, good. Welcome, Reverend Baker. All right, so can I go on? You want to announce me?
We haven't done, but
I don't know yours. Did I just skip you? I
That's okay.
apologize,
Well, you
Chris.
did
I'm gone.
okay, so we're going to have Chris come and update us on the WISD security.
She could have done our update for us. So we mentioned the talk up thing, but I was sitting there thinking as she was talking about the drug test, a lot of the substances now aren't going to show up on a drug test anymore. They've gotten smarter. The THC, I have no doubt, is up because not because people are smoking marijuana. It's those edibles and the chips and all that stuff. And When you break it down, there's only it's like 0.03% inside each deal, which keeps it legal. But if you consume enough of that, it's still going to show up in a drug test, the THC. And that's exactly where that's coming from. But the kratom, the mushrooms, this new stuff, you're not going to get on a drug test. That's going to, it takes us looking at these children and seeing the symptoms and the warning signs, and something's not right. Because they look intoxicated, right? The substance, it just makes them act wrong. They're tired, lethargic, or it could be just the opposite, super hyper. So if you run across something like that, don't overlook it of, well, you know, they would never do THC. There may be something else. They may not know they took it. One of their friends might have gave them something. So stay aware of that. And I know you are, and I know we talk about this every week, but that was good information. I'm glad I went to it. The update, we did metal detectors this week. That went very well. Nothing was found at the actual metal detector. However, right outside the school building, it was an Easter egg hunt picking up vapes that were tossed out as kids were coming in. So we still, you know, accomplished what we wanted to, right? And then we did drug dog this morning. And I believe it was either 2 or 3 hits on backpacks, and it was THC vapes, is the last I've heard. I haven't heard about global yet, what happened there, but I mean, still the same old problems, and it's getting worse. There's more that we just don't know about, and it'll continue. We just have to keep staying in front of it. Any specific questions about anything you've heard or substances? Tag them out. Oh no, you're too late. So in our town, we have what they call smoke shops, head shops. There's 2 or 3 of them. Not that I'm encouraging you to do any of this, but if you wander into one of those stores, walk in there and just look at all the stuff they have. And the shop owners, we learned, are very, very good salesmen. Ask them, hey, what won't show up on a drug test? And they will show you a wall full of substances. Could be candy bars, Rice Krispie treats, could be stuff you puff on. I mean, there's just tons. So it just doesn't reach a level so that detectable? No, it just, our drug tests don't test for that substance because it's not illegal. It's legal to use. It's a legal high, is what we found. The THC, which is, you see the gummies or the chips or that's what we test. That's the same thing in marijuana. The marijuana plant itself is not illegal. The THC is what's the illegal part. And that's what catches on those. And of course, people know that. Kids are starting to realize we test for THC, so they're moving towards other substances that get them high that we don't test for.
Yeah, the kratom, I mean, it's like heroin, but it's legal that they sell in the stores.
I was gonna show you the name of the ingredient, because I put it in my notes.
Yeah, no, it's pretty scary. Pretty scary. Cool, good? You can go back.
Okay, so Melissa's going to be here to give her updates.
One thing I did want to say, I just shared the bad news a minute ago. I didn't really share the good news, but the good news is through January, Global High School and our 3 junior high campuses have had no positives this year. So there's good news. I feel like I just shared the bad news, but there is good news. I'm sorry. Last month, I want to say, the number's different every time. I want to say upper 50s last month. We tested again yesterday, and we tested 67. So, you know, it's roughly, I think, 10% of the testing pool is our goal.
And all 5 tested positive last month, were they retested yesterday?
Yes, they were. And they were all here. That nobody was absent. Yeah, it was wild yesterday because there was testing, not drug testing, but like other testing going on, and we were able to get 67 kids tested, so that was awesome. Okay, yes, Reverend Baker.
I'm looking at the 7 drug tests, and it shows that it wasn't enough to say that the person was positive.
Uh-huh.
Is that an indication that they can continue to do it as long as they keep the level down?
Well, the only substance that we get a number on in our test, 10 panel test, is marijuana. And anything 50 and above is considered positive. So that's really the only thing we can look at a number. The other things that we test for, it's either positive or negative, and there's no number attached to that. So we look, for example, I had a student recently who tested like greater than 1,500, which is incredibly high. So what we will look for in that student is to make sure that number is going down. Because he may metabolize that quickly, he may not. So
So they can have 3 or 4 positives, but if they're lower than the number, then that's acceptable.
yeah, as long as that number is continually going down. Because if they are using, that number's not going to go down.
Now, the THC tends to, it stores in the fatty stuff in your body, and so it takes a while for it to actually metabolize out of your system. So it may show up for a good while.
It has to do with your percentage of body fat, things like that, and the speed at which you metabolize it. So,
And it's not just any amount of decrease, but it's an amount that
Yeah.
the scientists can reasonably determine it's likely you have stopped taking. There is just still a remnant in your blood or in your urine. I mean, it's
your urine, yeah.
In your storage, there's still a remnant. And if it's going down a reasonable amount, it's believable that you actually did do what we asked you to do. Stop using. We've just tested you now 2 weeks after, and there's a remnant left, and we won't then continue consequences if a remnant is left, as long as then we can see it's going away.
And it's interesting because these kids are pretty honest. I mean, once they're caught, for the most part, they'll tell you. You know, there's not enough of a stigma once you're caught for them to want to be dishonest about it. So, unfortunately, yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, well, on to potty guidelines. Our toileting guidelines committee met during the time since our last meeting together, and we went through the guidelines, and we kind of just fixed them the way we thought was the best. So I have given you guys a copy of that. And you know, if you'll just take a quick look at it, I am going to ask for your blessing on it here in just a minute. But I will give you a minute just to look at it. It's not long. But while you're looking at it, let me tell you a little bit about the changes that we made. If you'll see the first page from our original toileting guidelines, we added the self-help skills that we expect school-age children to have. Awareness of and ability to express the need to go to the restroom. That's something you expect kiddos to have when they start school. Ability to button and unbutton, zip and unzip clothing. And that does not say we will not assist in that if it's necessary, because you know staff will. Ability to change out of wet or soiled clothing themselves, and the ability to wipe properly. So this just gives the parents an idea of what our expectations are. Can we say, sorry, your kid's not potty trained, they can't come to school? No, of course we can't do that. But this lets parents know what our expectations are. And that if a child cannot meet these expectations, that is a general education student, then we're going to want to work with that parent to get them potty trained, okay? The next thing that we changed was we actually put in the guidelines that we will not provide clothing unless extenuating circumstances are present. Now, we also had included in the old guidelines that clinics had clothing available. We took that out because every clinic doesn't have everything, and we run out of clothes throughout the year, and we don't want parents to depend on the school to provide their child an extra set of clothing. We really want them to be responsible and send that extra set if they're in pre-K, K, or first grade. So that was a change on that page. On the second page, we added, and this was for the protection of our staff, obviously, but we added, if the student requires more than minimal assistance, 2 staff members must be present to provide this level of support. We're going to avoid having to do that as much as we possibly can, but sometimes staff is going to have to help a kiddo out. But we want there to be a chaperone present when that happens. Okay? And the rest of it is pretty much the same. Ms. Reynolds suggested we have a page that's for students who are in transition. It's our way of acknowledging, okay, we're going to have some kids that are in the process of learning to be potty trained. But we put that on a separate page just so it will stand out a little bit. And we could even send this page home sometimes just with parents whose kiddos are in transition. But there's also some links on there to toilet training resources as well. And we just want to make sure whatever we're doing at school supports what they're doing at home. We want the kid to succeed. That's our goal, is to be successful and to help this child be independent. All right, does anybody have any questions about the guidelines or suggestions for changes? I know this is kind of an unusual topic, but we just appreciate your blessing on our guidelines, just so we can say this has been through our SHAC committee, it's been well thought out. If a parent has issue with it, that way we can just say, you know, we've really done our due diligence to prepare these guidelines.
Do we need a vote on it?
I would like a motion, yes.
All right, can we get a motion to accept these guidelines for the WISD procedures for wet soiled clothing among the general education population? Sorry, I can't see very well.
Okay. How about I do this?
Kim, okay. Second on back, Zida. All right, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so
Thank you so much. And again, I want to thank the committee for their help and their input in this. It was very valuable. To let you know, as far as our special ed population goes, we are going to work to make sure that all of our staff members are very well trained in the best way to carry out the procedures that need to be carried out with our special ed students. And that's something that flowed out of this committee. And I appreciate that a lot. So we're going to work on that, get our people trained well, and make sure everybody's taken care of. Okay? Any questions? You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
okay, the next thing on our agenda is the 2023-24 SHAC Wellness Subcommittee Progress Report. We'll have Ryan do that.
Whoa, just kidding. Kill the microphone. So the Wellness Subcommittee has met 3 times and spent about 6 hours going through this 18-page document, the Wellness Plan. It's a lot. We've made some copies of the plan for you to grab and take with you. We're going to ask for approval of it at the next meeting because we want to give you some time to go through it. But Our child nutrition department, as part of the food program, make sure that we do our triannual review. So we're every 3 years supposed to review our plan and what we're doing right with it, what we're not following very well with. We make some updates to it, and so it's Miss Bridgers and Miss Batman who have really charged to make sure that we're in compliance. So we, like I say, we've gone through each of the groups. We've made a few tweaks. We know there are some areas that we're not doing very well. Specifically, we mentioned the catch program at elementary level. We know that's an area that we really have to grow in. We have been stronger in years past, and we've not been very strong recently. So we're recommitting to getting that program going again. One of the changes that we talked about was looking at aligning our athletics department to oversee secondary PE classes to make sure that we are aligning across all those courses, both athletics and health and PE, to make sure that we are implementing our plan across the district. We don't have that same integration at elementary, so we are looking at what we can do district-wide to make sure that we have a PE leader amongst our elementary PE teachers so that we can make sure the plan is being followed consistently from campus to campus. A majority of the plan is not being significantly changed from what is currently in place. There are some sections that we proposed for removal. There are some sections that we made some minor tweaks to, and then there are some other sections that we made some clarifying additions to. But for the most part, it's generally unchanged from what we have. I don't believe we leveled any more requirements on anybody. I think we actually removed more than we leveled. But we did add some clarifying specifically as it relates to recesses, which is going to be more of an elementary topic. There are certain minute requirements that the state has for elementary physical activity, whether they be in PE classes or in a structured recess environment. So we did add some clarifying language to the plan that would help our elementary friends meet those requirements from the state. But we did not go far enough to say thou shalt, because the state's already done a thou shalt. All we did was go in and try to replicate, hey, the state says you're supposed to do this, and so we really think you ought to do that, and these are the ways we think you can get there doing it. So with all that, I've talked way too long, but 18 pages of fun reading. If you can't sleep tonight, please take a copy with you. You will be asleep by page 3, but we will ask in April that we get approval on that so that we can move forward. Thank you.
Okay, well, that concludes everything that's on the agenda. Is there any questions or anything that's come up that we need to maybe touch on? Okay, if not, I need to get a motion for us to adjourn. Yeah. Okay, Cam, do we have a second? Okay, Bobby? Bobby? Okay, well, all in favor, say aye. Okay, thank you very much, and we will see you at the next meeting on April the 24th.